What's good, YouTube? Welcome back. Today it is the Lazy Daze Channel and we're back at it again with some more history reaction for you guys today, and we're back on the Kings and Generals content for you, and we're doing the Napoleonic Marshals series part 3. We're really enjoying this series and looking forward to just finding out some more about some of these epic marshals that Napoleon had under him. It's been great so far. I'm looking forward to finding out obviously Epic History TV's ranking, finding out a lot more information about them, and then making our own reactions. So if you guys haven't already, please head over to King's Epic History TV's channel. A link will be in the description box down below. We do so many content creators over here, I forget sometimes. If you guys are enjoying our content, then please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. But we're just going to jump straight into this one.
Let's do this.
Terror belli, decus pacis. Terror in war, ornament in peace.
If I'm drunk
The
one
words
night,
inscribed on every French marshal's baton.
What terror and war ornament?
In
No,
France, the
in
title
French,
of
yeah.
marshal
In
or
French.
maréchal goes back at least to the 13th century.
Get it on my other fire.
It represents the highest possible
get it as a
position
tramp
of
stamp.
military authority. Authority symbolized.
That's a good idea, you know.
I'll
If this,
pay you. I'll
video
pay
gets
you.
100,000 likes, I'll get that written as a Trump stamp on me. All right.
Oh.
100,000 likes.
My God, I will make that happen. I will make that happen.
100,000 likes, I'll get a Trump
guys,
stamp on me. All right.
Please, guys, hit that like button. Please. Please, we will make a video. We
Oh
will
mate,
show
yeah, we
you
will
the
follow
evidence.
through with this. I
This
just don't
will
know.
be
100,000 likes, man. 100,000
We'll
likes.
do it in
Arnold.
France as well.
Alright, yeah, we'll take
do
a day
it-
trip to
day
France,
trips
or
to
we'll do like a
France.
weekend to France, right? We'll get tattooed in France if this video reaches 100,000 likes. All right.
Oh. Whew. Now back to the back to the video.
13. Marshal Saint-Cyr.
Saint-Cyr.
He's the best man among us in the line of defence, though I am superior to him in attack. Napoleon.
Gouvion Saint-Cyr was a gifted student who ran away from a miserable childhood to become an artist. A passionate Republican, he embraced the French Revolution and later volunteered for military service. Though proud and aloof by nature, his Republican politics and sharp intellect ensured he was elected captain of his company. His skill at drawing enemy positions then got him noticed by General Custine, who gave him a job on his staff. During these turbulent early years of the revolution, Custine was one of several generals who was punished for defeat with a trip to the guillotine.
Oh.
Saint-Cyr's instinctive grasp of warfare, brilliant planning and tactics won him promotion from volunteer to general of division in 2 years. An even more remarkable achievement, as he'd had no formal military training.
Wow.
But his cold, analytical approach meant that he was always a respected leader, rather than loved. After 5 years' service with the Army of the Rhine, he was sent to Italy. At the disastrous Battle of Novi, he commanded the French right wing, but skillfully extricated his troops from the debacle.
Okay.
The next year he was back on the Rhine and won a brilliant victory over the Austrians at Bibrach. But a bitter dispute with his commander, General Moreau, encouraged rumours that Saint-Cyr was impossible to work with. Saint-Cyr believed soldiers should not meddle in politics, and did not support Napoleon's seizure of power in 1799. Nor did he show much enthusiasm for Napoleon's decision to crown himself emperor 5 years later.
Understandable.
His
Yeah.
political views
Republican.
cost him dearly. Saint-Cyr was sidelined for several years, while less able generals were made marshals. In 1805, he commanded French forces in central Italy. But when he was made subordinate to Marshal Massena, a man whom he personally detested, he returned to Paris, even when Napoleon threatened to have him shot for desertion. In 1808, Saint-Cyr was given command of a corps for the invasion of Spain, but his failure to take Girona meant he was relieved of command, leaving in a fury before his replacement, Marshal Augereau, had arrived. He was nearly court-martialed again for desertion.
Wow,
Saint-Cyr's
maybe twice.
military talent, however, was not in doubt. In 1812, he was recalled for the Russia campaign, with command of 6th Bavarian Corps. His role was to support Marshal Oudinot in guarding the northern flank of the French salient. When Wittgenstein's Russians attacked at Polotsk, Oudinot was wounded, and Saint-Cyr took over command, turning probable defeat into a brilliant victory. For this achievement, Napoleon awarded Saint-Cyr his Marshal's baton. But 2 months later, at a second Battle of Polotsk, Saint-Cyr was attacked by a larger Russian army, seriously wounded in the foot and forced to pull back. His injury meant he missed the worst horrors of the Russian retreat, but he contracted typhus early in 1813 and was sick for many months. Saint-Cyr returned to the Grande Armée in August, taking command of 14th Corps and the defense of Dresden.
Okay.
Incredibly, this was the first and only time that he worked directly alongside the Emperor, and both soon learned new respect for each other's abilities.
Very strong.
Saint-Cyr's skilled defense of Dresden set the stage for Napoleon's great victory there later that month. But Saint-Cyr was incredulous when Napoleon later ordered him to remain in Dresden, while other forces concentrated for the decisive Battle of Leipzig, 60 miles to the west. Napoleon's defeat at Leipzig meant that Saint-Cyr and other garrisons in the east were cut off and had to surrender that autumn.
I see.
Saint-Cyr took no part in the 100 Days, determined to keep out of France's political disputes. Under the restored monarchy, he served as Minister of War and tried, but failed, to save Marshal Ney from the death penalty. He also struggled to enact military reforms in the face of royalist opposition, eventually resigning.
At least someone attempted to try and save Marshal Ney.
Yeah, I think a few people might have done, but it's nice to hear that a general did, Yeah, it's a shame. He is a great commander. So the thing with it is, obviously, even though he didn't get his marshal baton until later, his actual military feats before were worthy of the baton. It was just personal disputes.
And then it's good to see that him and Napoleon were actually able to look at each other and see the strengths that
Napoleon
each other had.
actually had him working directly under him, he was like, "Oh wait, like I get it now."
Yeah.
You have a bit of a hot temperament and so on and so forth, but you are actually good at what you do, and clearly the people above you didn't want to listen to you.
Yeah, you're not loved, but you're respected.
Yeah, you are respected. Yeah.
In disgust and retiring to his country estate. Marshal Saint-Cyr remains one of the great what-ifs of the Napoleonic Wars.
I can see
An
that.
extremely able commander sidelined for his politics, who might well have proved one of Napoleon's very best marshals. 12. Marshal Oudinot.
A decent fellow, but not very bright. Napoleon.
Nicolas Oudinot ran away to join the army aged 17, but his father dragged him home 3 years later to help run the family business. When the revolution began, he volunteered for the National Guard and was promoted to major. In the wars that followed, he served with the Army of the Rhine, always in the thick of the fighting, rapidly promoted and frequently wounded, a habit for which he became celebrated. In 1799, he was promoted to General of Division and sent to Switzerland to serve as General Massena's new Chief of Staff, a role he performed to perfection.
Nice.
Serving with General Brune in Italy, he led a cavalry charge against an Austrian battery at the Battle of Hohenzollern.
I could not think of anything worse than being... Oh, I could.
But I was about to say, a cavalry charge
in a battery.
Is
you're in that battery, right?
Elephant charge is scary.
You fired the cannons. Hell no, I'm not getting in front of a pissed off elephant. It's suicide. Oh my god. That's like going up to a grizzly bear and trying to pet it like a dog.
Hey, I'm gonna have a pet gorilla one day. Okay, leave me alone.
It better be a silverback, I swear.
Yeah, it's a silverback.
Good.
Yeah, because it's me. I'm a silverback. But like you were saying, like you just wouldn't want to run into a cannibal. Like,
Yeah, no. But at the same time, like, your cannibals miss, and now you've got to deal with horses and cavalrymen.
Mate, yeah. Honestly,
Nah.
like through playing tactical games, like a cavalry charge on artillery is just devastating.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
really
absolutely
is.
devastating.
Gunners and capturing one cannon himself, a feat for which Napoleon awarded him a Sword of Honour.
Okay,
In 1805, the newly crowned Emperor Napoleon gave Oudinot command of an elite grenadier division formed from the tallest, strongest soldiers in the army. In December that year, at the Battle of Austerlitz, Oudinot insisted on leading the division in person, despite having been shot in the thigh 2 weeks earlier. His grenadiers were kept in reserve for most of the battle, but saw heavy fighting in the latter stages, as Napoleon completed the destruction of the Allied left wing. At the Siege of Danzig in 1807, General Oudinot's division had the unusual distinction of capturing an enemy warship, a British sloop that had run aground trying to resupply the city.
Mate, this guy done a lot.
A month later, at Friedland, Oudinot and his grenadiers were under Marshal Lannes' command and played a crucial role holding up the Russian army, until Napoleon arrived to deal a decisive blow.
Bro.
During the 1809 war with Austria,
It's that artwork.
Yeah, that
just
is, I
looks
give you that.
phenomenal.
It looks so real and beautiful.
It's so outstanding. The horse,
Yeah,
the detailing on the horse, the expression that
I
he's
didn't even
giving.
look at the eyes on this brown horse here.
Yeah.
And like just the whole background, it's like
I love it. Yeah, man.
The sun coming through the
detailing,
clouds,
the
like,
rippling of the flags,
yeah.
and the light reflecting
Yeah,
coming through
yeah,
that. That's
yeah.
mad. That is art. I can appreciate that. That's so well done, man.
I definitely think this is one of the better art pieces you've pointed out. As
Yeah,
well.
definitely.
This one's very well done.
I'd like to. If anyone knows who's done this artwork, let us know.
Yeah.
Put it down in the comment box below if you know anything about the artwork.
during the 1809 war with
Also, any places in like UK or like any actual countries that we're reacting to, if there's any sort of things that you would like us to go see, we'd definitely think about doing trips across Europe and sort of seeing.
Yeah, we want to go
things as
check
well.
out some proper
So
history.
yeah, like let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah.
Austria, Oudinot was wounded once more at the Battle of Aspern. When Marshal Lannes died of his wounds, Napoleon chose Oudinot to succeed him as commander of 2nd Corps. He led his new corps with such success at Wagram 6 weeks later that Napoleon attributed victory to Massena and Oudinot. A week later, he became one of 3 new marshals, one for France, one for the army, one for friendship.
Yeah.
Oudinot, the army's choice, fearless and much loved, a man whose courage inspired all around him.
Just quickly to let you know, it wasn't Napoleon who said this chant. Apparently it was the people in the army who then started. So he promoted them, and then as they were standing there, the people said, the one for France, the one for army, and then the one for friendship. So apparently it was the people who shouted it, not Napoleon.
But he went to.
He did.
He went up to.
He's still done that and dropped the mic. Like, as Light says, Light's always commenting on it. It's just like, mic drop moment.
Jeez.
Later received an additional reward.
But I would say
the title
Oudinot
Duke
is
of
definitely
Reggio.
for the army. He seems very strong.
In 1812,
He's taken so many hits
Marshal
and he's still
Oudinot
going.
led 2nd Corps into Russia, but was wounded again at Polotsk
Again.
and handed over command to
This
General
guy is just
Saint-Cyr.
taking shot after shot.
10 weeks later,
Okay, and then the guy before takes over his position.
So he's been shot in the thigh.
I think he got shot like 4 or 5.
4 or 5. I know he's definitely been shot in the thigh.
Yeah. He took.
Was it one in the foot?
One in the foot.
And it's just said wounded again.
Yeah.
10 weeks later, he was back with his corps, marching south to join up with Napoleon's army on its retreat from Moscow.
Okay.
Oudinot's men were shocked when they saw their old comrades from the main column. They looked more like fugitives than soldiers of the Grande Armée. Since Oudinot's second corps was in better shape than most, it formed the vanguard for the desperate crossing of the Berezina River.
Okay.
But the next day, in bitter fighting to hold the bridgehead against the Russians, Oudinot was shot from his saddle. He was carried back to a cottage with a serious gunshot wound. But then he and his party became surrounded by Cossacks. Oudinot asked for his pistols, and from his bed, aiming through an opening opposite, began firing at the Cossacks.
Oh, you legend!
Yeah.
Rescued by friendly troops, just in time.
You're top Donny.
Top Donny.
My guy's been shot from the saddle. His boys have dragged him into a cabin to heal, and they're like, "Listen, we've got Cossacks outside. Get me my pistols.
Get me my pistols and
Pop
open
out
up the
front
door." Mate, I actually am really surprised about that. Oudinot.
That is crazy, man.
That is crazy.
Get me my I'm thinking he's just going to take his own life, mate.
I thought he was going to take his own life.
just open out the window.
I thought he might have tried to let them escape and
I'll defend it.
And I was like, okay, but I weren't expecting the fact that he was going to
from the
shoot them and then they were going to hold their position for reinforcement. It's absolutely outrageous.
That is insane.
That's really good, and I'm like, I never really noticed Oudinot in the actual Napoleon series, so this has definitely gave me a lot more insight to him, and I'm really glad that we sort of got this information.
Yeah,
really
that's
enjoyed
crazy.
This. Let us know what you guys thought in the comments box, like when you heard this as well, and if you even knew it before.
Oudinot was back with the Grande Armée in Germany in 1813. In August, Napoleon ordered him to lead an advance on Berlin, but he was defeated by Bernadotte's army of the north at Grossbeeren. He then retreated in the wrong direction, causing Napoleon to remark, "It's truly difficult to have less brains than the Duke of Reggio." In Oudinot's defense, he'd probably been given an impossible task. Insufficient men to take on a strong opponent, bad weather, terrible roads, and he himself unwell, possibly not yet recovered from his ordeal in Russia. Napoleon put Oudinot back where he was most effective, leading troops in combat under his close supervision. At Leipzig, he commanded 2 divisions of the Young Guard, engaged in heavy fighting on the southern front for 2 days. Oudinot continued to serve the Emperor courageously and loyally as a corps commander in the final campaign of 1814. But in April, he was one of several marshals to confront Napoleon with the reality of his position and force his abdication.
Okay.
When Napoleon returned from exile in 1815, Oudinot refused to break his new oath to the monarchy, but declared neutrality, telling Napoleon, "Since I shall not serve you, sire, I shall serve no one."
Okay, I can see that.
He continued to hold senior commands under the Bourbons.
The respect that he had.
Yeah.
By one estimate, Oudinot was wounded 36 times in his military career, more than any other marshal. Here are just 20 that we found details for.
Shut up.
A fellow officer who bathed with him at a spa after the war.
Wait a second. Wait. But I think that was it.
Okay, so a gunshot wound to the head, gunshot wound to the chest, another gunshot wound to the chest, 5 sabre wounds, another gunshot wound, gunshot wound, gunshot wound, 3 sabre cuts, gunshot wound, grape shot wound, sabre cut to the throat, bruv.
Yeah, so that's a sabre cut. I'm assuming it's gone straight through. It's like it's not embedded. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. But it's still to the throat.
Yeah, cuz. Yeah. That's absolutely...
Broken leg, and he was still going for it.
That's absolutely insane. I'm just going to rewind 5 seconds. So 20 that they found at the moment. That's insane. It's insane.
Details for. A fellow officer who bathed with him at a spa after the war saw the scars on his body and observed he was little more than a colander. Ironically, Oudinot was also one of the longest-lived marshals, dying aged 80 while serving as governor of Les Invalides.
Still working. That
11.
one shocked me.
Yeah,
Marshal Victor.
Yeah, I'm really happy about that. Victor was better than one might suppose.
Claude Victor Perrin. was an experienced soldier by the time of the French Revolution.
Okay.
A sergeant with 8 years' service in the Grenoble artillery regiment.
Nice.
The Revolutionary Wars brought the opportunity for rapid promotion, and by 1793, he was commanding an infantry battalion at the siege of Toulon.
Let us know if you want us to react to the French Revolution as well in the comments box down below, because obviously it's coming up a lot. I'd actually like to know a little bit more about it.
He led a daring night assault on British defences alongside the army's artillery chief, a young Major Bonaparte. Both men were wounded, but the attack was a success, and both were quickly promoted to Brigadier General. Victor served under General Bonaparte in Italy and turned out to be a brilliant brigade commander. In 1800, he distinguished himself at the Battle of Marengo, where his command of the left wing won particular praise from Napoleon.
Victor commanded the army left when he conducted himself with great bravery and intelligence. First consul to Napoleon Bonaparte.
But Victor did not hide his disapproval of Napoleon's quest for political power, and as a result, received relatively minor roles under the new regime. In 1802, he was earmarked to lead an expedition to recover the French territory of Louisiana. But it was called off when Napoleon decided instead to sell Louisiana to the United States. Victor and Marshal Lannes were close friends from their days serving together in Italy.
I didn't know Louisiana was owned by the French.
Yeah.
I didn't know they sold it to America.
Yeah, they sold most of their lands to America. Well, yeah. Yeah. How did you not know that? How did you not know that? It was even covered in one of the slightly covered in one of the videos we watched. Like the American Revolution, it covered how the British were having wars in America.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had.
Yeah, I know. I just generally didn't realise that the size of the land that it had, like that was a lot.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
In Italy, in 1806, Lannes persuaded Napoleon to let him have Victor as his new chief of staff for 5th Corps. Napoleon agreed, and in October, Victor served as Lannes' deputy at the Battle of Jena. Napoleon's earlier misgivings about Victor were now forgotten, and that winter he was given command of the newly formed 10th Corps. But within weeks, he was captured by a Prussian patrol and had to be exchanged for a captured Prussian officer, General von Blücher.
Oh.
His big break came in 1807, stepping in for the wounded Marshal Bernadotte to command 1st Corps at Friedland, where he successfully led a major attack as the Emperor looked on. Promotion to Marshal and the title Duke of Bellumo swiftly followed. In 1808, Marshal Victor and 1st Corps took part in the invasion of Spain, where he'd be posted for the next 3 years. Victor's record in Spain was better than most, but like others, he seemed more interested in personal glory and rewards than in cooperating with fellow commanders. In 1809, at Medellin, he inflicted a crushing defeat on General Cuesta's Spanish army. 4 months later, his bold night attack on the British at Talavera came tantalizingly close to success. He was furious the next day when King Joseph and Marshal Jourdan refused to support fresh attacks, and instead ordered a cautious withdrawal. The next year, Victor besieged the Spanish port of Cadiz. It proved a lengthy, futile operation devoid of glory, and saw his troops defeated by an Allied sortie at the Battle of Barossa. In 1812, Victor was recalled from Spain for the invasion of Russia. His 9th Corps was held in reserve for most of the campaign, though his troops were kept busy defending depots and convoys from Cossack raids. That autumn, his corps attempted to cover the main army's retreat from Moscow. The greatest crisis of the retreat came at the Berezina River. As the remnants of the Grande Armée began crossing over 2 improvised bridges, Victor's 9th Corps was ordered to form the rearguard. Though heavily outnumbered, Victor skillfully handled his French and German troops, holding the Russians at bay as the army made its escape.
Solid
He
work.
then marched his surviving troops over the bridges in good order. A courageous performance in desperate circumstances. In Germany in 1813, Victor commanded 2nd Corps and led the attack in Napoleon's last great victory at Dresden. His corps was in heavy fighting again at Leipzig 2 months later. Victor continued to serve at the Emperor's side in the defense of France in 1814. By now, like many comrades, he must have been close to physical and psychological exhaustion.
Yeah.
Regardless, during the Battle of Montereau, Napoleon let fly at him for failing to get his troops into position and blamed him for the Allies' escape. Victor was relieved of command, but angry and humiliated at what he considered his unfair dismissal, he told the Emperor, "Marshal Victor has not forgotten his old trade. I will shoulder a musket and take my place in the guard." Moved by this response, Napoleon relented and gave Victor command of a corps of young guard. 2 weeks later, he was badly wounded at the Battle of Craon and took no further part in the war. A month later, Napoleon abdicated, and Victor switched his loyalty to the Bourbon monarchy with surprising zeal. He led an investigation into former comrades who'd supported Napoleon during the 100 Days, and was one of only...
Oh, he's just a rat.
He's
just a rat.
He's a snake.
He's just a rat.
He was one of the only 2 active marshals to vote. Vote on what?
I just can't believe he snitched.
He led the investigation to former comrades who supported Napoleon during the
comrades
100
who
Days.
supported Napoleon during the 100 Days, and was one of only 2 active marshals to vote for the death penalty for Marshal Ney, a decision...
No, he's at the bottom.
You're
He's
a
at the
dickhead.
bottom. He's
You're
at
a
the bottom.
dickhead.
He's at the
You're an
bottom.
actual dickhead. I generally want to shit on you. You're a dickhead.
Personally, I think he's at the bottom, but that's personal feeling.
I can't believe he was one of the only 2. He was one of the 2.
Yeah, I'm not doing an analytical thought process on this at all. I just don't like him.
Yeah. Dipshit's in the bottom of the bin.
He has so many great feats, though. It's just I personally now don't like him, so I just got that grudge.
You ordered the death as one of the best, man. Like,
wow.
What a dick.
Wow.
Bro.
he later claimed to regret.
Yeah.
Victor later served as Minister of War, but retired from public life in 1830, following the overthrow of the Bourbon monarchy. 10.
Right.
Marshal Murat.
I cannot conceive how so brave a man could be so unreliable. That is correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
He was only brave when facing the enemy. In council, he was a fool with no judgment. Napoleon.
Joachim Murat, the son of an innkeeper, was destined for a career in the church, but dropped out of college and joined a cavalry regiment instead. To his immense frustration, he saw little action in the early years of the Revolutionary Wars, being stuck with staff and training roles. But in 1795, while stationed in Paris with the 21st Chasseurs, fate intervened. A young general, Napoleon Bonaparte, had been put in charge of the defense of the National Convention. With a mob poised to storm the building, he ordered Captain Murat to bring him cannons, which he did, racing the guns through the city streets, allowing Napoleon to mow down the mob with a famous whiff of grape shot. Napoleon was hailed as the saviour of the government and rewarded with command of the Army of Italy. Murat was promoted colonel and went with him as his new aide-de-camp. He soon made a name for himself as a bold and brilliant leader of cavalry, while his 6-foot height, curly locks and love of women ensured fame as France's foremost.
You curly locks and love of women.
In 1798, Murat joined Napoleon's expedition to Egypt. the Battle of Abukir, his flanking charge broke the enemy, and Murat personally took the Ottoman commander prisoner, despite being shot in the jaw, a wound which, to his immense relief, did not ruin his looks. Back in Paris, Napoleon launched his coup d'etat to seize political power. When he got a hostile reception from the Council of 500, it was Murat who saved the day, leading troops in to clear the chamber, shouting, "Citizens, you have been dissolved," before adding something a bit more coarse. His place at the future emperor's side was further assured when he married Napoleon's youngest sister, Caroline, in 1800. Later that year, he commanded the French cavalry reserve at Marengo and helped Napoleon to win a decisive victory over the Austrians. When Napoleon established his empire in 1804, Murat became a marshal, second in seniority only to Berthier. He'd later also received the title Prince of the Empire and the rank of Grand Admiral. In the 1805 campaign, he commanded Napoleon's cavalry reserve, his excellent reconnaissance and diversions proving crucial in the encirclement of General Mack's Austrian army at Ulm. 3 weeks later, Murat and Marshal Lannes, who normally couldn't stand each other, together bluffed an Austrian commander into surrendering a vital bridge by persuading him that an armistice had been signed when it hadn't. It was a bold stunt, but overall Napoleon was not impressed by Murat's...
You imagine the armies cross the bit of bridge, right? And then like a horse comes over. It's like, what have you done? And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, why are they across the bridge? Why are you not shooting them? And he's like, there's an armistice.
And you just see every French soldier just smiling.
Oh, that's so jokes.
That's smart though, man. That's smart.
It was a bold stunt, but overall Napoleon was not impressed by Murat's pursuit of the enemy. I cannot approve your manner of march. You go on like a stunned fool, taking not the least notice of my orders.
I see.
Yet in battle, Murat remained a brilliant and inspiring leader, as demonstrated at Austerlitz, and the next year at Jena, where he led the decisive charge, wielding only his riding crop. The next year at Eylau, with the Russians poised to break through his center, Napoleon ordered Murat to lead a mass cavalry charge straight at the enemy. Murat's men succeeded and saved the army from disaster, though at a terrible price in men and horses. Napoleon had rewarded Murat in 1806 by making him sovereign prince of the Grand Duchy of Berg. In 1808, he sent Murat to Spain to act as his representative. Spain was still a French ally, but in May, Napoleon's heavy-handed meddling in Spanish affairs triggered a ferocious backlash. Madrid rose up against the French garrison, and Murat's troops fought back with brutal force, killing around 200, executing 300 more. When Napoleon deposed Spain's Bourbon monarchy, Murat hoped he'd be made the new king of Spain. But that title went to Napoleon's brother, Joseph. Murat instead received the throne of Naples. If it felt like second prize, it wasn't bad going for an innkeeper's son, college dropout, and ex-cavalry trooper.
It's like me and you getting a bit of power, going over to like some country which has like princedoms and princessdoms still in play now. Like
so basically, we could go over there and just like
marry into the
family and just here you go. You've done really well, right? You've not done a lot, but you've done well.
You could be a prince. Imagine it. That's so entertaining. But imagine thinking that you were going to get Spain.
Oh, mate.
But then,
Like,
I'd imagine that's why he's got so far, because he has the belief that he can get Spain. That's why
but
he got so far.
he has performed throughout.
He did perform. He did.
Ex-cavalry trooper. Napoleon expected Murat to merely represent his interests in Naples, but Murat had other ideas. He reformed the Neapolitan army, equipping it with splendid new uniforms, and turned a blind eye to smuggling, which undermined Napoleon's economic war against Britain, the so-called Continental System. Relations between Murat and the Emperor became strained. But when Napoleon began planning to invade Russia in 1812, only Murat would do to lead his cavalry. The differences were put to one side. Murat took command of 4 cavalry corps and became Napoleon's second in command.
See, I do like that about some of these generals. Admittedly, a lot of them had issues with Napoleon,
and it's a good side of Napoleon as well. Napoleon had issues with
he understood, like, there's only one guy I'd want to actually do this.
I may not like him, and like we may see differences, but if I need this job done, I need to get Murat.
Listen, you're a dick.
Murat.
But you can do really well.
And I think that's the good thing of any commander, the ability
you can put the
to
differences aside.
The ability to put your emotions aside and understand that this person is useful. But obviously, in some situations, they're just like, if they're literally going to underhand you, as long as you can sort of toe the line and the dance between, there's certain things he's going to do that he can get away with, certain things I'm going to do that I can get away with, and as long as we toe this line and it doesn't go too far either side, and then there's problems. As long as we play this little game and we dance around each other. So as long as you do a couple off-handed bits, but as long as you're doing what I'm saying, I can deal with it. That type of thing. If you argue and you disagree with me and so on and so forth, but if you get the job done and you do this, then I can look past it. Yeah, and Napoleon definitely has that. It seems.
Advance into Russia, Murat's cavalry faced a difficult and frustrating task, trying to locate the enemy in a vast landscape. Horses died in their thousands from poor fodder and exhaustion, and they faced a dangerous and wily opponent in Russia's Cossacks.
Oh, of course.
Murat, always riding with the advance guard, was so fearless and conspicuous in his extravagant uniforms that the Cossacks came to admire him, calling out "Ura, Murat" whenever they saw him, and hoped to capture him alive if possible. Murat was among those who tried to persuade Napoleon to halt the advance at Smolensk, but was ignored. At the great clash between the French and Russian armies at Borodino, Murat was at his best, directing a series of attacks on the Russian earthworks, always where the action was hottest, inspiring all with his courage. Murat remained with the army during the retreat from Moscow, though his magnificent cavalry had virtually ceased to exist. One eyewitness noted that throughout the ordeal, he never neglected his appearance. Even at the Berezina, he looked splendid, in an open-necked shirt, velvet cloak, a white feather in his cap.
To me, his costume seemed utterly bizarre for such a moment, and in minus 20 degrees, his neck was open, his velvet cape flung neglectedly over a shoulder, his back velvet cape adorned with a white feather. All this gave him the air of a hero in some melodrama. Wow. My guy was pimping.
It looks like a pimp in that photo.
He really does look like a
Do you reckon pimps are just like go through the pink diary? The pink diary.
Pink diary?
The pimp diary. But even then, what am I trying to say there? Oh, do you know what? We're just going to move on.
He's pimping it.
The pimp playbook, and just have that photo. That's what I was
got
trying
to be
say.
like on number one.
Yeah, that's it. Like how to be a plimp. Just like boom, a plimp. What am I doing?
Oh God! Please stop. Please.
It's been 40 minutes. We need to.
When Napoleon left the army to return to Paris, he gave command to Marshal Murat. But Murat, now primarily concerned with hanging on to his kingdom, left the army a month later and returned to Naples, where he opened secret negotiations with the coalition. He offered to join the war against Napoleon if the other powers would let him keep his crown. But he received only a lukewarm response. So in 1813, when Napoleon asked Murat to join him in Germany to fight for their thrones together, he answered the call. Murat had become increasingly difficult to work with. Oversensitive about his royal status, prone to tantrums, but in battle as fearless as ever. At Dresden, his charge through rain and mud shattered the Austrian left wing and paved the way for victory. But then
I'm sorry, I'm thinking about it now. 2 of the marshals have got like princedoms or something like that. One of them got Sweden and reigned until God knows how long, until today. And then you got this guy.
Yeah, his bloodline's still on it today.
Yeah. And then you obviously got Murat, obviously become a prince for that Italy area. Like, it's absolutely insane how much power some of these people got.
Yeah, for literally maybe 1 or 2 battles, they've
done a lot more. If you're actually looking at the list,
yeah.
You know.
But for like some of them, they would get the Marshal's baton for like 1 or 2 things or whatever, and then you get others that are doing more, and they're getting vast areas of land.
But we are getting higher up in the ranks now,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm really enjoying it. You know, my opinions have definitely been swayed so far by some of these.
Yeah, some of these marshals are.
Yeah, they've gone from I didn't really know them to oh my god, actually, you know
Feats,
what, this person
he showed his limitations when not under Napoleon's direct command, getting drawn into a major and unnecessary cavalry battle with coalition forces, and twice nearly being captured himself. 2 days later, at the Battle of Leipzig, he led another of history's great cavalry charges, coming close to breaking the enemy centre and even capturing the Allied monarchs. But it was not to be. The Battle of the Nations ended in a disastrous defeat.
That it did.
As Napoleon retreated to the French frontier, Murat informed the Emperor that he was leaving for Naples, promising to raise fresh troops. Murat and Napoleon would never meet again. 3 months later, the King of Naples had cut a deal with the coalition and switched sides. So long as it was possible for me to believe that the Emperor Napoleon was fighting to bring peace and glory to France, I fought loyally at his side, Murat declared. But now I know that the Emperor's sole desire is war. However, Murat's commitment to the Sixth Coalition was distinctly half-hearted. His army marched against Eugene's forces in northern Italy, but had done no actual fighting before news arrived of Napoleon's abdication. Murat then began to suspect what had been obvious to Napoleon at least. The coalition was not going to honour its promise, and Murat would be next to lose his throne.
Okay.
So, in 1815, encouraged by news of Napoleon's return from exile, Murat marched north against the Austrians, proclaiming a war for Italian freedom and independence. Just 7 weeks later, his campaign ended in defeat at the Battle of Tolentino. With the British and Austrians closing in, Murat became a hunted fugitive. He sailed to France, but Napoleon had not forgiven his betrayal and refused to see him. After Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo, he fled to Corsica, gathered a small band of volunteers and returned to Italy in a hopelessly doomed attempt to start a revolution and reclaim his throne. Chased by a mob and arrested on the beach, Murat was sentenced to death by the restored Bourbon monarchy of Naples.
That doesn't
He met his
surprise me.
end with his usual courage, telling the firing squad, "If you wish to spare me, aim at the heart," then gave the order to fire himself.
That's solid.
Yeah. I really.
Oh my.
Murat is rightly
Respected
remembered
him.
as one of the great battlefield cavalry commanders of history.
I could see that, yeah.
Inspirational, fearless, with brilliant tactical instinct. But outside of combat, he was, in Napoleon's estimation, a very poor general. he always waged war without maps. Worse, when the conflict turned against France, he allowed self-interest and vanity to prevail over loyalty to the emperor. As Napoleon's chief of staff, Marshal Berthier, once told him, "You're only a king by the grace of Napoleon and French blood. It's black ingratitude that's blinding you."
Oh, so
Sancerre,
true.
Oudinot, Victor, Murat.
Suck
17
out.
down, 9 to go. Join us for part 4 when we'll continue the countdown. Coming soon.
Well then,
Ah,
I really enjoyed that.
that's mad.
That's so
Oh my.
good. And you see how they're getting smaller and smaller. So
Yeah.
like less and less generals. So we're gonna find out some more information about the next ones. I'm really looking forward to it. I know, I really enjoyed this episode, and clearly Jack has. So if you guys enjoyed our episode, then like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. But we will catch you in the next video.
See you in a bit.